Review of game week 2 in the Premier League. I'm going to go through every single game, give a bit of an early viewpoint as to where each club are at this time of season. Of course, it's early days, so we're not going to get too drawn into it, but there's a few alarm bells, there's a few good signs, and I'm just keen to go through it all today with you. So you will hear from your club today in the Premier League if you stick around in this video. For Friday night, the first game was West Ham United versus Chelsea. And look, I think West Ham are probably the team that are hoping the championship teams that came up aren't that great again this season, because they look all over the place, to be quite honest with you. They sold Kudus, who potentially alongside Bowen, well, not potentially, them two are definitely their best players, Paqueta perhaps, but defensively they look really vulnerable. I think Kilman looks like a different player compared to when he was at Wolves. They're playing this 3 at the back system. They've got a guard who's playing centre back, and he was on loan last season, seemingly not wanted anymore. Now he's come back into the squad. I feel a bit sorry for Diouf at left back. I think he looks all right, but he's extremely attacking, and there's a lot of defensive problems there. And then up front, you know, they had Callum Wilson come off the bench. There wasn't much more on the bench for them. Falkberg, while seemingly a player of quality, hasn't really settled. And how many players like that have been at West Ham over the years? And I don't think they've got much money to get themselves out of it either. So it's going to be an interesting one for West Ham this year. There's a lot of uproar with the chairman, and I think it could be a long season for them. They might need to go and get a Sean Dyche, someone who's just going to, you know, fight fires and keep them up this year. I think Potter and his more attacking, flamboyant style might not be suitable for a potential relegation battle this year. Chelsea, obviously it was a 5-1 victory, makes Chelsea look really good on paper away from home. I think that they're going to have bigger tests than this year. I think Chelsea, of course, are going to be strong. They spent so much money that they can't not be. You know, I think João Pedro looks like a good signing, but he did blow hot and cold a little bit at Brighton. I think Saicedo has really grown into that 100 million midfielder. Enzo, maybe not 100 million midfielder, but certainly has real quality as captain. And I think, you know, the loss of Cole Palmer, hopefully it's not too long for Cole Palmer, because he's a wonderful player for the Premier League. But they showed that they could adapt. Obviously, really exciting young players coming through as well. And I think Chelsea, I don't personally see it as a title run for Chelsea, but I think they'll be very, very close to that Champions League spot, if not certainly well within it, and maybe a sniff at a title challenge. But yeah, I think that's the maximum Chelsea can hope for this season. On to Saturday, Manchester City versus Spurs. Really good performance by Spurs. I thought they looked really solid. They looked really strong defensively. I like the way Thomas Frank almost has 2 different styles of play here. Against Burnley, it was far more aggressive, attacking. At home, you saw that with him at Brentford as well. But the ability to go away from home. What's really interesting about Man City and Spurs is Spurs just seem to have their number, particularly at the Etihad. And I also remember Ivan Toney scoring 2 goals against City a couple of years ago, and Brentford getting a victory there as well. So it was almost like the perfect combination of Thomas Frank and Spurs going to City. But I must admit, I thought City would win. Like I think most people thought they would. Potential old fragility from City from last season. This idea that they play great football, but I find Doku extremely frustrating. They've not really replaced Mahrez, I don't think, on that right-hand side. I think Cherki will come close. If not, it's early days for him at the moment. Savinho, bit in and out. Foden obviously played from the right, but his form has gone off a cliff. So look, City, of course, will be very, very strong this season. I think they're absolutely title contenders. I think Spurs, look, 17th to the Champions League is a big jump. And if Thomas Frank does that, I think he's probably the manager of the year. I think they're certainly capable of Europe. And who knows, right? I mean, they're still going to invest in this summer after getting Eze stolen from them. There's actually rumours that Henkapi from Leverkusen might be stolen from Arsenal as well. But yeah, Tottenham looks strong. I think the relationship with Kudus, getting a tune out of Richarlison, which I didn't think would be possible from Thomas Frank, really good management there. The development of Alfie Gray. I think Tottenham are going to be a lot better than last season. Of course they are. And certainly top 6 looks like a good bet for Tottenham. Bournemouth versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. I really enjoy Bournemouth. I really, really enjoy Bournemouth. I love the way they seem to steal the march over the transfer markets, bring these players in from good scouting, sell for big money. I mean, they sold to Real Madrid, PSG, Liverpool this summer. And I think Diakite, the replacement, and Truffert at left back already found great replacements. I think Bournemouth just seem to have, they're almost like the new Brighton Bournemouth a little bit. Just really good recruitment, making good money out of the league, but also, you know, I think I can see a mid-table or maybe even as high as 8 for Bournemouth this year. I love Semenyo. I think even Nielsen's got a lot to offer. I think Alex Scott in midfield, an underrated midfielder. So yeah, really excited to see where Bournemouth end up this season, and obviously a great manager as well. He's a player manager, for example. If Arteta was ever to go at Arsenal, I would take Iraola in a heartbeat. Wolverhampton Wanderers, the other team alongside West Ham who I worry about. Again, they'll be hoping the Championship sides are as weak as they have been in more recent times. I don't think that will be the case, by the way, which obviously I'll talk about Burnley, Sunderland, and Leeds in a minute. But Wolves, again, just sold so many of their good players, relying on good recruitment. I don't think they're getting it right. I watched Arias in the World Club Championship. He looked good. Whether he can transfer that to the Premier League, who knows? But yeah, selling Cunha, selling Ait-Nouri, probably their two best players last year. From what I can see in their first 11, not really replacing them with quality that I know about. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not quality players coming in. But I do worry about I'm not sure Strand Larsen's the answer. I know he had a half-decent season last year, but I think Cunha would have helped him out a lot with that. Yeah, I do worry about Wolverhampton Wanderers, I have to say. A big surprise from this weekend as well was Brentford beating Villa. I did worry about Brentford with Keith Andrews there, but I think Dango coming in from Bournemouth is a shrewd bit of business. £40 million though, by the way. Him maybe alongside Wissa. He hasn't gone yet. Lots of rumours suggesting Wissa will be leaving to Newcastle. Brentford we just don't know about. They've sold so many of their players. Norgard and Burmo. Obviously lost the manager as well. If they were to lose Wissa as well, you would think it'll be a long, hard season for Brentford. But this is a great result against Aston Villa, who I think made some quite strange decisions from January last year. They got Rashford in on loan, which is fine. I think that was worth a punt. But to start him up front ahead of Watkins when you've sold Duran, the idea that you're loaning a player and starting him ahead of someone else, I appreciate obviously there's a short term and you want to win today, but is Rashford a better centre forward than Watkins? I think Watkins is a real confident striker, and I think they've absolutely floored him through the fact that they started Rashford last. It just doesn't look like the same player. He doesn't look like the player who scored against Holland for England. He doesn't look like the player a season before last who got so many goals. And if Watkins dries up, I do worry where the goals come from. They seem to play John McGinn on the wing, which John McGinn's a great footballer, but I'm not sure he's really the answer out wide. I'd rather have him in the centre alongside Tielemans and alongside Kamara. That seems to make sense. Obviously, they sold Diaby. I don't see a great deal of threat in the wide areas. Onana, they've got lots of strong central midfielders. I think you can get at that defence. I think you can get at Konza. I think you can get at Matty Cash. I think you can get at Digne. And suddenly, they're not this really strong force that they were. I mean, obviously, they went into the later stages of the Champions League last year, so fair play to them. I think there'll always be a handful at Villa Park. But I do worry about Emery getting results away from home this season from Aston Villa. Burnley 2, Sunderland 0. A tremendous result for Burnley. They're off and running. Really good to see all three Championship sides winning a game already in the first two games. That's not been a given the last few years. I think all three teams are going to give it a good old go. I actually think Burnley and Sunderland are the most likely to stay up this season out of the three. I think Leeds, while investing a lot of money, something about Daniel Farke I'm not so sure about. I think Sunderland have got a bit of an unknown about them. So I think they've invested well, certainly like Granit Xhaka. But Burnley, they're going to really want to rely on their home form this season. I think, obviously, the fact that they had such a strong defence last year, you would think that would transfer quite nicely into the Premier League. Of course, the Premier League is a bigger beast. But at home, Burnley have always been a handful in the Premier League, even under the Dyche days. If they can protect that clean sheet record at home as much as possible, certainly not conceding very many goals, it's going to be how many goals they can get going forwards. And yeah, I'm hopeful for Burnley this year. They've been such a yo-yo side recently, different approaches, the likes of Vincent Kompany with a more out-there approach, which didn't last. Dyche obviously kept them in the league for a long year. If they can go more down that Dyche road, and I think Parker will do that, I think they'll have a good old fist of it. And Sunderland, like I said a minute ago, I think there's a bit of an unknown. They've got a very strategic recruitment plan, and I kind of like it. You know, I don't know a lot about some of the players they're bringing in, but you sort of back them in that basis. They seem to have brought through quite a good few young players recently. I think the sign of Xhaka makes sense. So we'll see on that one, but I think Sunderland, I think all the Championship sides are going to be relying on their home form more often, because you saw at Sunderland the 49,000 fans. Obviously, Turf Moor gets a great atmosphere. Ellen Road gets a great atmosphere. The more they can piggyback off that, it's not a coincidence that all three of them have won, and all three of them have won at home to clean sheets as well. The late game on Saturday, Arsenal 5, Leeds United 0. I've already done a bit of a short on this one already, so I won't go too much into detail on this one. But yeah, very eventful day for Arsenal. The announcement of Eze, very high emotion with Ian Wright video, that makes lots of sense, and it's great to see. The likes of Max Dowman coming on 15 years old, which I just find absolutely incredible. The likes of Gyökeres getting his first goal. You could see the relief come from his face when he put that one in, and it was a good goal too. Took the penalty sharply as well. I completely agree that Gyökeres should have taken it, not Max Dowman, because I'm not being funny. People aren't looking at Max Dowman's numbers as much as people are looking at Gyökeres' numbers this year. And Leeds United, this is not a game that they're looking at that they think they'll get something from. It would have been a complete bonus. I thought they actually did pretty well for the first 30 minutes. I thought Arsenal looked pretty toothless for the first 30 minutes. But the problem with Leeds, Burnley, Sunderland is that when they go 1-0 down, it can feel like a long way back sometimes. And I think that Leeds United felt the force of that on Saturday evening. Going into the Palace versus Forest game, a very political game. I cannot believe that Palace did not get that Europa League spot. I think it's absolutely scandalous. If that was, I just, the whole idea that they didn't have a blind trust, but Forest did do the blind trust, and that's why you get European football. It doesn't sit well with me personally. I think they have every right to be pretty annoyed about it. I don't know how much Forest pushed it. I know Forest made people aware. If Forest pushed it, I just think, nah, it's not for me. But it's probably a good job this was a draw, because I think there was the potential of some problems in the fans afterwards. And yeah, a good goal by Sarr. Munoz with another assist. I think he's a top right back. I think Sarr's going to get good goals this season. Good reply by Hudson-Odoi. And yeah, I think if I was before the match, I think it was going to be a draw. I think they're two good sides. I think they're both going to be pretty strong mid-table. Obviously, the effects of European football, the Thursday, Sunday, could impact them a little bit. So I think kind of between sort of 14th and 9th is pretty good going for Palace and Forest this season, with the hope of a good European run. Because Forest have a decent squad. They've definitely invested in a lot of players. They've got a lot of their recruitment to be pretty good. And it'll be interesting to see where they end up in Europe this season. If they get rid of Nuno, though, what's he supposed to do? The guy has got them into Europe, Nottingham Forest, who are -4 points down, and just the idea that he's potentially going to get sacked is just ridiculous. And Marinakis, if he keeps doing things like that, Forest will have more problems than they have solutions, that's for sure. Everton 2, Brighton 0. Really enjoyed the opening ceremony of the Dickinson Hill Stadium. I guess it'll take a bit of getting used to it. It doesn't really roll off the tongue on that one. And I actually got a little bit emotional watching them come out in the stadium there. I love the Everton tune when they come out, that do 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 do. And Jack Grealish, I love Jack Grealish. I find him such a fun footballer to watch it. I think it's a real coup for Everton to get him there on loan. He was at the heart of everything. 2 assists. Okay, one was more just just pass back to allow Garner to strike it in, but he attracts defenders. He makes defenders worry. That's the reason why Garner had the space to have a shot in the first place. And the first goal was an absolute peach. Great work by Grealish again. That's what he does. Gets to the byline. It's great to see him play in that way rather than the sort of more defensive sort of check inside and play it sideways. And Ndai, who scored the last goal at Goodison Park, and scored the first goal at the Dickinson Hill. And he was also in my FPL, so I was very happy that he put that one away as well. Brighton are in a bit of a mix at the moment where they're such a good side. They've done so much great business. They've got... they really have got their recruitment right. They've almost pushed it a bit too far. It's a bit like Southampton many, many years ago under Pochettino, where they got such good recruitment, but then they pushed it a bit too far and ended up going down. Now, I don't see Brighton going down anytime soon, but to get to that next level, I think maybe a new coach. Obviously, they've gone very, very young. I just think there's improvements they can make there. Welbeck's been fantastic for them, but you think of all the knowledge and recruitment they've got. I know they've got a couple of Greek guys that have come in and can play up front, so it'll be interesting to see where they go. I'm not so sure on O'Reilly. I think Matoma he's been so good for them, but a bit predictable in my opinion. But look, Brighton are a good side. They'll be there or thereabouts. So we're very lucky not to go away with the win here. But Everton, I was quite glad Everton won, because I like Everton as a side, and I think David Moyes done a great job there too. Fulham won, Manchester United won. I've done a short on this one as well. Firstly, on Fulham, I think Marco Silva just needs to really work out what his first 11 is, because there was stats going through the game that they've scored the most goals from subs, and they've also got the most points back from losing positions. And then he brought on Anthony Robinson, Harry Wilson, Emil Smith-Rowe and Raul Jimenez. And if someone said to me before the game, who are Fulham's 4 best players, I probably would say those 4. So I don't know why they're on the bench. And if that is the stat about them keep coming back into it, start your better team. They look so much better in the second half, Fulham. I thought they were really poor in the first half, and Man United were unlucky not to run away with it. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes has absolutely skied it. In fact, he's blaming the ref is ridiculous. Cunha had a good chance. They hit the post as well. But yeah, I just think United, there were a few same things from last year that I'd be worried about if I was a Manchester United fan. It looked a bit flat in spells. Okay, like I said a minute ago, they could have won the game early, but the fact they didn't seem to have that bite to go again. They're actually clinging on towards the end, because Fulham were the better side towards the end of the second half. I think Manchester United, under Almiron, there was lots of joy last week because they came close to... Well, they didn't actually come close. They didn't. It was a loss to Arsenal, and Almiron said, "We've proven that we can beat the better sides." I don't know where he's come from with that. And this game today, I thought it was quite an important game for Man United yesterday, because that's a good result for them if they win that 1-0. The fact they drew it, just question marks. A few question marks over Manchester United again. But they've got Cunha and Burmo. We'll see if Sesko gets right up and running or not. It's nice to see Mason Mount playing well again. I think Man United will be better, but will they be that much better? We'll have to wait and see. And tonight we have Isakiko, Liverpool versus Newcastle. Big game. I think there's a lot of talk about Isak. Will he be in the ground? I suppose he will be. I'd be interested if the cameras are on him at all. I just think he's just put himself across in such a bad way here. Eze has shown how you leave a football club, okay? He's given everything to Palace. He's managed to get them a trophy just like Isak did. And I think he's done it in such an honourable way. And Isak has got it the complete wrong way around. I don't think it's a given he's going. A lot of people think it's done after this game. I don't understand why this game makes any difference. I don't think it's ever been a thing. You have to wait until after you play somebody to buy them. I don't get that. I'm pretty sure you can come to an arrangement that he doesn't play if you want him to. I also just think that Liverpool don't need him. I think Ekitike looks awesome. And are they going to have an 80 million striker on the bench? Maybe they will. Maybe they will. But I just think it'll be very interesting to see post-game what happens. Tonight, you've got to back Liverpool because Liverpool win most of their games, but Newcastle will have a bit of a reason to hurt them. Obviously, they drew last year. They got a late goal, Newcastle, last year to draw them. We know that St James Park is a very difficult place to go. And I think Newcastle, it's a big one for Newcastle tonight. I think they can get this one over the line tonight. They can have a good season. I think if they lose this, if they drew last week, it's not a great start of the season. Isak goes. It starts the season a bit flat, and they've got Champions League football to contend with, and I'm not sure they've got the squad to contend with it yet. So if they do get rid of Isak, they want to get rid of him soon because they need to reinvest in that squad pretty quickly. I hope you enjoyed that. That's a bit of a analysis of every club in the league. It's early days, right? People might snap this up in a year's time and go, look how wrong he was. But for me, it's just great to have the Premier League back. It's already created its own stories. It's already created its own drama. It's a pain in the backside. There's an international window coming up. Why do they do that so early in the season? Who really cares? Onwards up as we go. I will be here the whole way through. I'm absolutely loving this channel. It's early doors. Please hit subscribe at the bottom if you got this far. There's going to be loads more videos like this. And indeed, if you agree with anything I say, disagree with anything I say, comment below and I will get back to you right away. All the best from me. See you soon. Bye-bye.